Arzu, what can you tell us?
Vinay,
Atul
I
Garg
can
from the
hear you.
BJP is contesting. Dolly Sharma from the Congress party, who's a part of the Indie Alliance, is also going to be contesting. And you have Nand Kishore Pundir from BSP, the Bahujan Samaj party, who's contesting in these elections. I can see a line behind you. I can't tell at this point in time how long it is. Please speak to people and try and understand what are they expecting, from either their incumbent member of parliament or whoever they are voting for.
Well, yes, Vineet, since morning the voters are coming here, in fact, to vote for their candidate, and the voter turnout here in the Ghaziabad is 33.99%, which seems to be low, but still the voters are coming in and standing in a queue. We would also like to interact with the voters on what issues they are here to vote this time. We have ladies with us. Ma'am, क्या issues हैं इस बार जिनके आधार पे आप वोट कर रही हैं?
मुझे बता देना।
गाजियाबाद में क्या दिक्कतें हैं आपको? जाम की दिक्कतें? कोई दिक्कत
कुछ भी नहीं है,
कोई दिक्कत नहीं।
कुछ भी नहीं।
आपसे भी जान चाहेंगे क्या मुद्दे हैं गाजियाबाद में?
मैम ये विकास, इसका बेरोजगारी, शिक्षा, हॉस्पिटलाइज, इनके ऊपर बस वोट करना चाहे हैं।
मौजूदा सरकार ने किस तरीके से काम किया है, क्या लगता है?
मौजूदा सरकार ने तो ऐसा कुछ हुआ नहीं अभी तक यहाँ पे।
अच्छा,
हाँ, तो अब कुछ बदलने के सोच रहे हैं।
ठीक है। और लोगों से भी रिएक्शन लेंगे, बात करना चाहेंगे। आप लोग भी वोट करने पहुंची हुई हैं, आप लोगों से बात करना चाहेंगे। किस आधार पर इस बार वोट कर रही हैं? क्या कुछ इश्यूज हैं जो दिमाग माइंड में रखे हुए हैं?
भैया बस पता कुछ नहीं है, जो भी होगा देखा जाएगा, सबको सबके साथ ही होगा।
मौजूदा सरकार का काम कैसा लगा?
बस सही है जी, बढ़िया है जी, जो जैसा कर रहा है सही है, बस सही है, बस और क्या।
ठीक है, so you could see, women are coming in a large number. You could see, in fact, there are some more voters also. आपने वोट डाल दिया है दादी जी?
डाल दी, डाल।
एक बार दिखा दीजिए, कैमरे पे दिखाइए. So you can see, they have used they are celebrating this festival. मैम, किस आधार पे गाजियाबाद में क्या इश्यूज है जिनके बेसिस पे आपने वोट किया है?
हमें तो पता नहीं, हम तो सीधे साधे आदमी ही आ गए, सब वहाँ
आगे आ जाइए, आगे आ जाइए.
पानी वगैरह सब कुछ अच्छा दे रहा है। हाँ, राशन अनाज गेहूँ मिल गया हमें, और वो बत्ती भी अच्छी दे रहा और पानी भी अच्छा दे रहा। बस हमें गाय की परेशानी यही थी, ये इसमें
मौजूदा सरकार का काम
मौजूद है, बढ़िया।
So people are liking the work of the present government. Still we need to take more reactions. मैम, वोट डाल दिया है आपने? क्या इश्यूज हैं गाजियाबाद के जिनको माइंड में रख के आपने आज वोट डाला है?
तो सब कुछ ठीक है।
अच्छा,
हाँ,
कोई दिक्कत नहीं है गाजियाबाद?
नहीं कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
मौजूदा सरकार का काम कैसा लगा? यहाँ वीके सिंह थे, लेकिन आप कैंडिडेट जो है वो चेंज किया है भाजपा ने।
हाँ, नहीं ठीक लगा।
अच्छा,
हाँ, अच्छा लगा।
ठीक है, okay. So people are saying that there are some issues that need to be sorted out in the Ghaziabad, but still you can see a long queue where the voters are coming. In fact, the ladies in such a weather coming out to vote. मैम, आप लोगों से जानना चाहेंगे, वोट करने बाहर निकली हैं, गर्मी बहुत ज़्यादा हो रही है, क्या लग रहा है, मतलब क्या मूड है आप लोगों का?
नहीं, वोट तो देनी ही थी, है ना। तो इस अब ये है कि घर पे कोई गेस्ट आया हुआ था, तो इस टाइम निकलना हुआ हमारा।
गाजियाबाद के क्या मुद्दे हैं महिलाओं को लेकर? महिलाएं क्या चाहती हैं
ये है
गाजियाबाद?
कि सुरक्षा हो जाए बस, और तो कुछ नहीं है वैसे तो। कि मेन ये है कि गर्ल्स को सुरक्षा मिल जाए अच्छे से।
पहले गाजियाबाद जो है वो क्राइम के लिए जाना जाता था, अब क्या बदलाव आया है गाजियाबाद
तो
में?
चेंजिंग है, अब तो चेंजिंग है, पहले से बहुत फ़र्क है। अब तो अपना ये है कि आगे आगे थोड़ा और उद्धार हो जाएगा अपना हर चीज़ में, तो इसलिए भ्रष्टाचार भी कम है अब पहले से ही।
2 टर्म से भाजपा की सरकार थी, 14 में भाजपा आई, 2019 में भाजपा आई, तो क्या मतलब उम्मीदें हैं कि जो आने वाली सरकार है उससे क्या कुछ उम्मीदें हैं महिलाओं की, आप लोगों की?
हमें तो ऐसी लग रहा बेचारा नरेंद्र मोदी आएगा आपके भी। हाँ, तो थोड़ा उधार ही होएगा कि कांग्रेस आ गई तो सत्यानाश आई है। और जो
क्या कुछ काम है जो आप लोग चाहती हैं कि गाजियाबाद में हो या फिर कंट्री में हो?
मेन तो यही है कि रोड्स वगैरह सब सही हो जाएं और वुमेन को अच्छे राइट्स मिल जाएं, क्योंकि अभी भी बहुत सारी जगह ऐसी हैं कि राइट्स नहीं मिले हुए, है ना, तो वो मिल जाएं।
Okay. So you can see a long queue. Still, it's around afternoon 3:16 p.m. But still, people are coming out to vote in the Ghaziabad. This is the good picture we can see. But the voters are in fact saying that the work has been done in the Ghaziabad, but still there are sectors like education, like infrastructure. On those, there needs to be work more. Yes, Vineet.
All right, let's cut across to Akshit also, who's joining us at this point in time from Gautam Budh Nagar. Akshit, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, a strong hold of Dr. Mahesh Sharma of the BJP. He's the incumbent from 2019. He had a good outing, got 60% of the votes. Is he expecting a rerun in terms of the numbers that he was able to secure in 2019?
Well, yes, the battleground, Gautam Budh Nagar, is actually witnessing a three-cornered fight between BJP, India Alliance and Bahujan Samaj Party, which is BSP, of course. And this time also BJP is banking on their two-time MP, Dr. Mahesh Sharma. And of course, people are also optimistic. We talked to Mahesh Sharma also in the morning, and he also said that, he's quite optimistic about forming the government here. Well, we are here at the polling booth. And of course, people are coming out to vote in numbers. And the turnout has been 36% since morning. Well, you can see how the security preparations have also been done. So we'll just quickly try to, rope in some people also to gain in what are the issues they are voting for. फिर आप अपना नाम बताइए. तो क्या कुछ मुद्दे हैं जिनको दिमाग में रख के आज वोट डाल रहे हैं?
ये बात का सबसे पहला मुद्दा है देश का जो विकास जो कर सके उसके लिए मुद्दा है. फिर जैसे कि अभी राम मंदिर बना है, 500 साल का इंतजार खत्म हुआ है, वो भी एक मुद्दा था. और भी बहुत मुद्दे हैं. तो देश को आगे जैसे कि बढ़ रहा है उसे और बढ़ाना चाहिए और मजबूती से आगे बढ़े. ये सब सोचते हुए बोल.
So of course, there you heard that the development is, of course, one of the issues which they are voting for. We'll just try to talk to some more people out here. Sir, आप बताइए, आपने वोट डाल दिया है?
जी.
तो क्या कुछ मुद्दों को दिमाग में रख के वोट डाला है? हाँ.
हम भी डालने चाहिए यार.
हाँ. 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 सर, इतनी गर्मी पड़ रही है, आप लोग वोट डालने आए हैं, तो क्या कुछ समझते हैं कि नोएडा के विकास के बारे में अगर बात करें तो? जी. Of course, there you, of course, once again heard that
there seems to be a problem with your audio. I'm going to go to my colleague Ritesh, who's joining us from Purnia at this point in time. Ritesh, Purnia की अगर बात करें तो ये एक ऐसी कंस्टिट्यूएंसी है जिसको इंग्लिश में कॉम्प्लेक्स कहेंगे, हिंदी में जटिल कहेंगे, क्योंकि यहाँ पर जो कास्ट फैक्टर है, जो मुस्लिम फैक्टर है, जो कुशवाहाज हैं, जो पासवान्स हैं, मंडल्स हैं, ये सारे ही एक इम्पॉर्टेंट फैक्टर हैं जिनका जो एक वोट करने का जो रुझान है वो हमेशा से ही अलग रहा है. इस बार आपने पहले भी लोगों से बात की थी, दोबारा बात करने की कोशिश करिए कि क्या मुद्दे हैं और क्या समस्याएं हैं जिनका वो समाधान अपने प्रत्याशी के द्वारा ढूंढ रहे हैं.
अब बिल्कुल देखिए, पूर्णिया की बात आपने कही कि बिल्कुल सही कहा कि कॉम्प्लेक्स स्थिति है, चाहे जातीय समीकरण की बात करें या धर्म की बात करें. हम कस्बा विधानसभा इलाके में हैं, ग्रामीण इलाका है, और पूर्णिया में 6 विधानसभा हैं और उसमें से ये प्रमुख है. और देखिए कि अलग जो वोटर्स हैं उन्होंने वोट कास्ट कर दिया, अब लोग बैठे हुए हैं. अब जानने की कोशिश करेंगे कि फैक्टर्स क्या कुछ है. ये बताइए कि क्या कुछ फैक्टर्स हैं, कौन से मुद्दे हैं जिस पर आपने वोट किया, क्या कुछ आपको चाहिए, क्या कुछ किसकी सरकार बनाना चाह रहे हैं?
सरकार के केंद्र में जिसका मतलब बहुमत ज़्यादा सिद्ध होगा तो उसकी सरकार बनेगी. लेकिन प्रॉपर पूर्णिया का बात कर रहे हैं तो हम लोग इनके विकास चाहते हैं. उस दृष्टिकोण से हम लोग एक बार बदलाव के दृष्टिकोण से पप्पू यादव को इन्हें की अपना समर्थन दे रहे हैं.
क्यों, क्या कारण है?
विकास के दृष्टिकोण से उनसे उम्मीद ज़्यादा है, नहीं की
उम्मीद ज़्यादा है. आपने भी वोट कर दिया है, क्या नाम हुआ?
सुनील कुमार साहब.
अच्छा सुनील जी, ये बताइए कि पूर्णिया में इस बार कौन से मुद्दे हावी हैं? कैंडिडेट भारी है, पार्टी भारी है, या स्थानीय मुद्दे भारी?
स्थानीय मुद्दे भारी है. यहाँ स्थानीय आदमी होना चाहिए जो कि विकास करे, हाँ, और जो पब्लिक को कमी हो वो पूरा.
कौन से मुद्दे हैं जिसके आधार पर आज आपने वोट किया है? यहाँ
मुद्दे हैं, मुद्दे के लिए विषय वस्तु दीजिएगा तो पूरा दिन भी लगेगा.
हाँ, लेकिन थोड़ा समय है, आप उसी में बता दीजिए.
सबसे बड़ी बात है यहाँ मूलभूत जो आवश्यकताएं हैं जनता का वो पूरा नहीं हो पा रहा, और जिसने भी वादा करता है तो वादा खिलाफी करता है, कोई जमीन पर नहीं उतरता है. और पूर्णिया का दुर्भाग्य रहा है कि जब भी जो भी बने हैं MP वो क्षेत्र पर विकास की ओर अग्रसर होकर घर घर जाकर कोई समस्या का निदान
में से किसी पर तो भरोसा करना होगा.
किसी पर तो भरोसा, अब जनता का जिधर रुझान होगा,
किधर रुझान है जनता का?
अब ये कैसे मैं क्लियर करूंगा?
आप बताएं क्या?
अब क्या बताएं, जो समाज चलेगा वही ना। अब तो मानिए कि इलेक्शन के बाद ना, जो पहले थे तो कुछ
इलेक्शन तो मुद्दे पर ही वोटिंग होती है ना, आपके सोसाइटी में, आपके खुद के मुद्दे पर। तो किस मुद्दे पर आपने वोट किया?
अरे मुद्दा क्या रहेगा, जो 10 साल रहा तो कुछ किया ही नहीं। अब नया कोई है सोच रहा है उसके ऊपर, देखे क्या हो रहा, 5 साल तो देखेगा ना।
तो देखिए कि मुद्दों के आधार पर ही यहाँ वोटिंग हुई है, और कुछ और लोग हैं जिनसे हम बात करने की कोशिश करेंगे कि इन्होंने किस आधार पर आखिर वोटिंग की है, क्योंकि वोटिंग लगभग यहाँ पर ज़्यादातर लोगों ने कर दी है। ये बताइए सर, इस बार पूर्णिया के लोगों का मुद्दा क्या है? लाइव न्यूज़ एक्स पर आप जुड़े हुए हैं, किस मुद्दे पर आपने वोट किया?
10 सालों से जो यहाँ के वर्तमान सांसद थे वो न लोगों से मिलते थे, न जुलते थे, न कभी एक आदमी का एम्स में इलाज करा सके, न यहाँ का जो समस्या था वो समाधान नहीं कर सके। इसलिए लोगों ने इस बार जम के पप्पू यादव के पक्ष में मतदान किया है।
तो पप्पू यादव उम्मीदों पर खरा उतरेंगे?
पप्पू यादव यहाँ 2 बार निर्दलीय विधायक रहे, सांसद रहे, और 1 बार वो समाजवादी पार्टी से यहाँ जीते, और लोगों ने उनका कार्यकाल देखा है। कम से कम मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ अपना अनुभव कि कस्बा के कम से कम 8 लोगों को उन्होंने एम्स में हार्ट का इलाज कराया।
तो यहाँ प्रत्याशी भारी है या पार्टी भारी है या फिर दबदबा है गठबंधनों का?
यहाँ प्रत्याशी भारी है, सभी गठबंधनों पर भारी है। पप्पू यादव एक ऐसा नाम है जो कोरोना काल में पूरे देश में उन्होंने जो किया लोगों ने देखा।
लेकिन तेजस्वी यादव तो कह रहे हैं कि भले एनडीए को जिता दीजिए लेकिन पप्पू यादव को वोट मत करें।
तेजस्वी यादव हताश हो गए, वो सोचते हैं कि अगर पप्पू यादव आ गया तो फिर मेरी राजनीतिक दुकान बंद हो जाएगी।
चलिए रितेश, हम आपके पास वापस आएंगे। माय कलीग शक्ति इज आल्सो जॉइनिंग अस एट दिस पॉइंट इन टाइम फ्रॉम बांका इन बिहार। अजय इज जॉइनिंग अस फ्रॉम जम्मू। शक्ति, मैं सबसे पहले आपके पास आना चाहूँगा। जो चुनाव है वो सीधी तरह कहा जा सकता है, और जेडीयू और आरजेडी के बीच में बड़ा मुकाबला है, और अभी तक जेडीयू का पलड़ा भारी रहा है। अभी क्या समीकरण बन रहा है?
ये बिल्कुल देखिए, जो बांका लोकसभा सीट है ये जेडीयू और आरजेडी के बीच में आसपास की लड़ाई है, और दोनों उम्मीदवार जो है यादव समाज से आते हैं, और ऐसे में जो यादवों का वोट बैंक है वो कहीं ना कहीं इस बार जो है, जो लालू प्रसाद यादव, जो तेजस्वी यादव के दावे रहते हैं कि जो आरजेडी के साथ माई समीकरण है यादव वोट बैंक रहा है, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं सेंधमारी की कोशिश जो है बांका में हुई है, क्योंकि जो जेडीयू के भी जो उम्मीदवार हैं वो भी यादव समाज से आते हैं। ऐसे में लगातार 3 बार से जो है जीतते रहे हैं, और इस बार लेकिन जो चुनाव है वो काफी कह सकते हैं कि क्लोज फाइट से जो है बांका में देखने को मिल सकती है, क्योंकि तमाम जो वोटर हैं उनसे हमने सुबह बात की थी। कई
शक्ति, आपकी आवाज नहीं सुनाई दे रही है। लेट मी इनफैक्ट कट अक्रॉस एंड गो टू माय कलीग Ajay also, who is joining us from Jammu. Ajay, if you're there with us. Ajay?
Yes, I am.
Important constituencies. There are 11 assembly constituencies from the Jammu district. The BJP and the India Alliance candidate, Mr. Raman Bhalla, are perhaps the front runners to grab this opportunity. But what are the feelers that you're getting from the ground? Try and speak to some people. What are their issues? What are their agendas? And what are their expectations?
Well, you rightly said, because 11 constituencies from Jammu and 18 total constituency of the Jammu parliamentary constituency has to they basically is going through the vote process. But since it's very hot right now here in Jammu, and that's why the number of voters, those who are basically they are comparatively less. But in the morning there was long queues over here, and you rightly said that there is a competition between two, like Raman Bhalla and the sitting member parliament Jugal Kishore Sharma, who won this seat for 2 times in 2014 and 2019. But what will happen this time when people are basically voting, because Jugal Kishore Sharma got the ticket mandate for the 3rd time, and Raman Bala is also on the same seat. Raman Bala is a former minister and also a senior leader of the BJP. Let's speak to the people over here that what they have to say. ये बताइए कि क्या लग रहा है जो इस बार चुनाव हो रहे हैं, 10 साल से जो सांसद हैं उसको देखा जा रहा है, प्रधानमंत्री को देख के हो रहे हैं, कि जैसे स्थानीय नुमाइंदा जो चुनेंगे उसको देखा जा रहा है?
सर, इस बार जो होगा वो डेवलपमेंट जो पिछले 10 साल से रुकी हुई है, एक चीज़ वो भी ध्यान में, एक चीज़ वो जो स्थानीय लीडर है जिसने डेवलपमेंट करवाई है, आज भी आप देख सकते हैं स्कूल में आज भी जो लगा हुआ है नाम उन्हीं का है। तो मुझे लगता नहीं है कि जुगल किशोर जी किसी टक्कर में हैं, तो जो वोट है वो इस वक्त चेंजिंग के लिए है।
मतलब क्या काम तो काफ़ी हुए हैं, जम्मू कश्मीर में 370 टूटी, बाकी चीज़ें हुई, क्या लगता है वो नहीं?
सर, उसमें 370 तो टूटी है, ठीक है, लेकिन उसमें हमें रोज़गार नहीं मिला है। जो लोगों की गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स है वो नहीं मिल पाई। आप देख रहे हो कि बेरोज़गारी, आज बच्चे पढ़े लिखे बच्चे बेरोज़गार घूम रहे हैं सर।
So these are the views from the ground. We'll speak to some other people as well, that what they have to say, that how they are basically going to choose their candidate this time. आपसे जानना चाहूँगा, क्या लग रहा है, मुद्दे क्या हैं इस बार जिसको लेकर वोट करेंगे आप?
मुद्दे बेरोजगारी है ज़्यादा।
बेरोजगारी की वजह से?
हाँ, बेरोजगारी, नौकरी नहीं है, बच्चों के शिक्षा भी इतना JNK में नहीं चल रहा है। और क्या मुद्दे हमारे यही छोटे मोटे होते हैं।
So, the people have different opinions, and if you talk about the Jammu parliamentary constituency till now, the voting process which is going on, more than 37% poll process has taken place, and in Riyasi district, which was basically divided from the Udhampur constituency and now added in the Jammu parliamentary constituency, that is on the top. The 53% polling is reported on the Riyasi district, and in rest of the urban areas of the Jammu, like Jammu East, Jammu West, and the other constituencies, the polling percentage is about 36 to 38%. So this is what exactly happening. Different people, different opinion. But what will happen, because Jugal Kishore Sharma won this seat with 2,80,000 votes in 2019 for the second time. So what will happen? Will he be able to make the hat-trick, or he has to face the change because of the people anger, what recently people have told us? So that has to be seen.
All right, Ajay, appreciate you joining us. In fact, we're going to bring in some experts and weigh in on what they think is, phase 2 is all about. Chandni Preeti Shah, political analyst, with me in the studio. Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, also joins us in the studio. Mr. Mithun Vijay Kumar, author and activist, with us on the program as well. Last but not the least, Dr. S.K. Datta, acclaimed international conservative expert, joins us on the program as well. Dr. Datta, I'll begin with you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Dr. Datta, one thing that has in fact been said over and over again by political pundits and experts is that, phase 1 perhaps did not go as well as was anticipated by a number of parties, including the BJP. But phase 2, in all likelihood, despite of the increasing heat, is going to more or less make up for that lapse or that, lack of footfall. It was on an average down by 4% if you compare it to what happened in 2019. Is that something that you worry about?
No, I don't think so. It is not a very big factor or not a very big issue as such. And in my understanding, if I have to look into overall voting pattern in the phase 1 of this election also, it is more or less satisfactory. And the voter turnout, yes, in some areas was less than what was expected. But still, like the people who voted, yeah, and if you hear into their commentaries, of different news channels when the reporters had gone for taking their bites or their interviews, generally what was seen from north to south and from east to west was like there was a huge feel-good factor for the work being done by the Honorable Prime Minister, and people per se actually wanted Modi ji to repeat the third term, And second thing is like when it came to the question of anyone creditable who could pose in a challenge for the Prime Minister, generally the voters say that there was no one in the fight to fight against the Honorable Prime Minister. So because of that also I understand that there was a kind of a pro-incumbency factor in the first phase also. Second phase of the election, because of the rapid fire election campaign being done by the Honorable Prime Minister and by other stalwart leaders of the NDA, we have been seeing huge line of voters right from early in the morning from the nook and corner of the country. And my understanding is like once the voting gets concluded this evening, my understanding is it would be at least around 6 to 7% more than what was in the first phase. Definitely in the second phase also, I can say with a lot of conviction that NDA has the upper edge, and the face value of the Honorable Prime Minister is absolutely unchallenged. The kind of crowd which the PM is pulling across the nook and corner of the country, and basically in the non-traditional areas where BJP is not strong, that itself speaks in volumes about the popularity of the Prime Minister.
Joyita Basu, how do you look at this phase 2 phenomena? Is this basically caught up with the momentum that all the parties, predominantly the Bharatiya Janata Party, was hoping they would get to see in phase 1?
Well, you see, BJP of course would be saying that they have had a good phase 1, but all sorts of reports are coming in, especially because of the low turnout. So we are not very certain about how phase 1 went, especially in a state like maybe Rajasthan, and UP of course may not be that case. But so phase 2 is extremely important because BJP will have to start picking up the numbers from phase 2. UP particularly, Karnataka has gone to vote today, and Rajasthan as well. Now when we are looking at Karnataka and Rajasthan, now the narrative seems to be changing in a different direction. They are saying there is a buzz, okay, whether it's a Congress buzz or not, but there is definitely a buzz that Rajasthan has got split into castes. It is no longer voting according to, pro-incumbency or anything like that. Rajasthan has got divided according to caste. So as a result of which we don't really, the certain victories of BJP which were huge, so I think BJP may have to fight very hard and in certain seats. So, the buzz is that the BJP is unlikely to get 26-0. 25 or 25, I think Rajasthan is. They are unlikely to get that number. So, but if we are talking in terms of 300 plus seats for BJP alone, 320, 330, they will have to score very well in today's phase. So, but again, Karnataka is also, there is a question mark over there because it also has to be whether people there have been able to grow out of their mind, whether they understand the difference between an assembly election and Lok Sabha election, what kind of impact Congress's freebies will have, especially among the poor. I can understand the urban centers will be going towards the BJP, and there are North Karnataka, lots of issues there in Karnataka. So this is the phase that BJP has to start picking up votes in a big way.
Mithun, you're from Kerala. The discourse that has been doing the rounds or has been in the highlights is, of course, the wealth redistribution comments that came from either side. But Congress has always enjoyed, loyalty from the voters in Kerala. Has this discourse in any way impacted that?
See, on your question on wealth redistribution, it's basically a statement coming from a party that doesn't have any hope of winning the election. When a party is trying to include such policies in their manifesto, or if they are discussing about things like these, it definitely means that they don't have a scope and they're going to the extreme level, right? Rahul Gandhi is speaking like a Maoist leader now. Even the Maoists are not talking about wealth redistribution nowadays. So coming to the scenario in Kerala, You see, Annie Raja is actually contesting against her own prime ministerial candidate, trying to bring down his vote share, even if he wins. So that's the kind of politics that you would see in Kerala. Outside of Kerala, they are like one alliance. Here they are trying to throw muck and sludge against each other. The left actually wants Rahul Gandhi to leave Wayanad and contest in Amethi. Even your journalist was taking the interview, and that's what Annie Raja said. So in Kerala, the fighting between Congress and CPIM is going to help BJP for sure, apart from the politics of development that they are projecting. So today I even saw the Chief Minister expressing distrust on their LDF convener, saying that he's holding meetings with Sri Prakash Javadekar. In Kerala, it's like if you meet Prakash Javadekar, you're likely to cross over to BJP. And so you would have seen how the former chief minister's daughter has joined BJP. Even A.K. Antony's son is actually a candidate from Pathanamthitta. In Pathanamthitta itself, the public sentiment is like Mr. A.K. Antony itself is contesting on a BJP ticket and not his son. In fact, the Economics Times election update that I had actually shared with you, they have mentioned by mistake that Sri A.K. Antony is the candidate from Pathanamthitta. That's actually the sentiment that people of Kerala are having and people of Pathanamthitta are having. So in Thrissur, if you see, Suresh Gopi, he's like the Annamalai of Kerala. He's connecting with grassroots. He's connecting with people at every level. And he has done a lot of work despite not being in any position of power. And people love him. And same is the case with Trivandrum. You see the sentiments of minority communities, the support of minority communities that Rajiv Chandrasekhar is getting, the Christian votes, the Muslim votes. I think this time it's going to be a different game altogether, and BJP is going to, show a significant change in these elections compared to 2019. And today, you see, we have elections in Kerala, Karnataka, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, UP, but tell me one state where Congress doesn't have an infighting or an issue with their alliance partner. You see, for example, in Rajasthan, in Banswara, I think, Congress is doing a door-to-door campaigning against their own candidate, Arvind Damar. So similarly, there is by-election going on in Bagi Dora Assembly constituency, where again Congress is not backing its own candidate. So this is the condition of Congress in states where they are contesting, and Rajasthan especially is a state where they have 25 Lok Sabha seats, and I don't have to specifically mention you that there is an infighting going on between the Gehlot and Pilot faction. And in Karnataka, if you see, there is internal feud between Siddaramaiah, D.K. Shiv Kumar, and the same can be seen in all the states. So in this election, that is particularly going to favor BJP, and it's like a pride of lion attacking a bunch of rabbits that are fighting between each other. This is like the scenario that you can see in this election, and BJP is going to definitely make their statement true that char so par. They're going to make it true in this election. That's what we can see, Vineet. Especially from the south, there is a massive difference that you can see, especially the Annamalai factor in Tamil Nadu. The alliances that BJP has made in Andhra Pradesh, the vote share going up in Telangana. In Karnataka also, there is a sentiment that is favoring BJP. So all this is going to benefit them in the in this election.
Okay, Chandni, you concur with what Mithun has said. He's made a very important and a valid point that this infighting is perhaps going to spell doom for the Congress party, and it's always been this invisible ally of the BJP.
I completely agree with what he has said, and I said this earlier also. I'll tell you what, Congress has given it on a platter to Narendra Modi and to BJP. They are going to be defeated, with large margins, and that is for sure. Now let's, what he said that they have this in Kerala and in Bengal, they are fighting against their own allies. I mean, what kind of alliance is this? I've always maintained this, that the INDI alliance is an alliance of convenience only. They do not, their only motto is to defeat Narendra Modi. They do not have any vision for the country. They do not have anything, which is optimistic for the country. They are only greedy to defeat the present Prime Minister. Now, you know, if we go by what they have promised in their manifesto, you know, you took the point of redistribution. Of course, they have a rift between them where a certain section of Congress says that, oh, there is no wealth redistribution that we are talking about. But Sam Pitroda, who is a close aide of Rajiv Gandhi, who has been a close aide of Rajiv Gandhi and Congress even in current times, comes on national television and gives a statement that yes, there will be redistribution, and he gives an example of how United States have redistribution, you know, not going into the specifics that those examples were also wrong, but then yes, he has validated that point. Lokesh Jindal, who came on a channel today, and he also validated that yes, they would be bringing, you know, taking the redistribution of wealth seriously, and it is not unconstitutional because Article 39 and 38 talks about redistribution. The Congress manifesto itself also says on their page, you know, 28 and 29, and it says, and I quote, that we will address the growing inequality of wealth and income through suitable changes in policies. So if you are not bothered about wealth, why would you even mention it? There is also, you know, a row that took place that, you know, Narendra Modi is giving anti-Muslim statements, but actually that was also propagated by Congress itself. I mean, Narendra Modi, if you take the speech and listen to it, Narendra Modi only said Guspetias. It was the Congress who, you know, told that the Guspetias means he is referring to the Muslims. Dr. Manmohan Singh, 2 times, 2006 and 2009, has told this. It's in his speech that the first claim on the resources of the country would be of the minorities, especially of the Muslims, and this is on record. So there is nothing that Narendra Modi is saying which is out of the box, or he's just saying it for the sake of saying.
Let's you know, allow Dr. Datta also to weigh in on this. We haven't had an opportunity to speak on this. Dr. Datta, do you think this redistribution debate and the Congress manifesto versus what the Prime Minister said in Rajasthan has also more or less defined the mood of you know, the first 2 phases of the Lok Sabha elections 2024?
Absolutely, Vineet. In fact, this is resonating with the masses, and Congress is solely to be blamed because the camouflage faith of Congress has once again got exposed badly by the leader of Congress Party itself. The kind of things which the leaders of Congress Party have time and again said, they have actually exposed the hidden agenda of the Congress Party. You know, like, I mean, we all know that Dr. Manmohan Singh on record had projected and propagated that the first, you know, the first thing of the national resources would be with the minorities and especially with the Muslims. Then there is this issue of, you know, bringing in the Muslim community under the OBC reservation in Karnataka. Then Congress in the past had tried to give in reservation to the Muslims on religious line in Andhra Pradesh as well as in Telangana and in Kerala, which was struck down by the Supreme Court of India as well as by the Honorable High Courts. The manifesto of the Congress Party speaks about religious reservation. It speaks about reservation for the minority community. Now, and everyone knows that when Congress talks about the minority community, which community Congress actually hints at. Together with that, the distribution or the redistribution of the wealth of the people of the country is something which has badly exposed the Congress Party. Congress questions would be arise. Question would be asked as to why in the first place Congress had scrapped the act in relation to redistribution of wealth. We all know that what Sri Rajiv Gandhi had done after the assassination of Mr. Indira Gandhi and the way the law was brought in to amending the existing law in relation to redistribution of wealth. And then, you know, like it was brought in according to his whims and fancies just to inherit the property which was left by Mrs. Indira Gandhi. And now Congress is trying to, you know, restate that original law. So this kind of duplicity is something which the Prime Minister has exposed. The brutal factor of Neha in Karnataka, together with forceful conversion of another married woman from the Hindi community into Islam, and the way Sitaramaya government is trying to dilly-dally the whole thing, this is something which has brutally exposed Congress party across the nook and corner of the country. And today, the voters, they feel that if Congress comes to power, then probably Congress would be working for the Tukre gang, for the Naxalites, for the ISIS, and for from people across the border. So that the utterance of Shriman Rahul Gandhi is something which is highly condemnable. And I'm sure, as one of your experts had pointed out, that he's speaking in a tone which would also which would actually make the Naxalite feel ashamed. The kind of utterances of Shriman Rahulji. So I think this is something which has actually taken a heavy toll on the Congress party with every passing day. And today, the historic judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in relation to the EVM VVPAT, that has again exposed the opposition. And I think now opposition is running here and there just to bury their face and to find out a safe way out.
All right, Joyita. Do you think that Rahul Gandhi has been, of course, making a lot of statements in a tone, which, doesn't really have any flavor or favor? I saw it on social media myself, the way he was addressing the Prime Minister, that, he's gotten this discourse down to a level where he's just short of punching somebody from the central government.
Yeah, I think the problem that has happened with Rahul Gandhi is that he has become he's getting increasingly angry. He's coming
desperate.
across, yes, when you're looking at him, he's becoming so angry that he seems to be forgetting the bounds of polite behavior. As a leader of a particular a de facto chief of the Congress party, he should be a little more, there should be more humility. There should be a little more, politeness, but that is totally missing. And that is the problem with Rahul Gandhi. Even if you look at how he, forget about what he is talking about, say, the Prime Minister. Look at how he treats the common people, especially journalists. Anybody asking any question, what does he say? Oh, go the media, oh, you guys are BJP spokespeople, a question. This is so insulting. So the thing is that I don't know, maybe he wants to be surrounded by what is also known as quote-unquote PD media. But the thing is that I don't think he understands the concept of neutral journalism. So you see, as a persona, it is very disconcerting to see the way Rahul Gandhi's behavior at times publicly. And you remember, Vineet, what happened during that Raebareli rally? He was carrying, he had gone for, in Raebareli, where one of our colleagues, he called him up and he asked him, kaun sa jaat ho, tumhara malik ka kya jaat hai? Please, a political person, a political leader does not talk like that. And yes, when you are talking about so that public persona that we sometimes get to see, those outbursts of anger, that awful language, this constant, talking about, I will do an X-ray of the nation, main tumko fix kar dunga, that kind of, I'll fix you, that is something very unsettling. Because you see, ultimately this guy, eventually he wants to become the Prime Minister of the country. Now, as a future, whether he becomes or doesn't become, as a possible future leader of the country, when he starts behaving like that in public, it's very problematic.
All right, we've run out of time. In fact, I'd like to thank all my guests for joining in and weighing in on some of the difficult questions that were posed.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.